The last novel that gave me a good slap in the face. Like a good slap? Is it sort of like waking me up or like making me angry or I don't know. You're going to have to edit this part out. There are books about family and connections and all the different ways that people love each other as family, friends, and also romance. So each of the individual books features a different romance. So you get two different people falling in love, but it's all set in the same world where you've got this cast of characters that you know and love. I think it's at a sweet spot where it is far enough in the past so that we can turn it into a little bit of a fairy tale and we can let characters do things and act in ways that wouldn't be normal or even acceptable in modern life. But it's close enough to the present so that people react in ways that are fundamentally familiar to modern readers. Gosh, so many. I mean, I was reading a lot of romance authors right then. I was reading Judith McNaught and Julie Garwood and Lisa Kleypas. And then, of course, there's Jane Austen and a little later, Georgette Heyer. And I loved reading Victoria Holt. So many. I mean, I only scratched the surface. How is that even a question? I mean, don't we all prefer happy endings? You can have a love story that ends one way or another. If you're going to write a romance novel, the way we think of a romance novel today, it has to have a happy ending. I just think that's what so many people want out of life. That is something that not everybody, but most people are searching for. They want to find a partner. They want to have a successful romantic relationship that makes them a stronger person. I just think we have enough tragedy in the real world that if I'm going to write some fiction, I want it to make people happy. You know, I get asked that a lot, and it's not something that I think about actively. I think that it's just who I am. I am a feminist. I've always considered myself a feminist. Men and women may not be the same. They are equal, and they should have equal opportunities. I don't understand how anybody doesn't believe that. So this is something that just imbues everything that I do. It's not a conscious decision. It's just who I am, and I don't think I could write a book that wasn't colored by that in some way. You know, I just think that there's certain aspects of the human condition that transcend time. You know, women trying to gain power in a society that doesn't necessarily want to give it to them. We have that now. We had that then. It's just manifests itself in different ways. Another thing that I do a lot is I like to incorporate bits of science and medicine, and that's something where you have to really do your research because, you know, people didn't understand things the same way that we do now. So, for example, I had a book where the hero had malaria, and I actually had to have characters giving incorrect information about how malaria is spread because that's what they thought then. And as the science geek inside me was going, you know, it was so hard to have my characters saying things that I know are completely false. And so I did put an author's note at the end saying, they were wrong. That's not how it works. We know better now. But it's something you kind of balance out. I think that there are certain things that are just universal and you just have to figure out how to work it within that time period. I have heard from readers who have said to me that they didn't realize that they should be treated well in a relationship until they started reading romance novels, which is a little scary, a little sad, and also a little wonderful. Maybe their home life, they saw women being treated poorly or without respect, and they just came to expect that, and thought that was what they deserved as well. And then they started reading these types of books that show women being treated very well. So I think that's great. If a romance novel is going to model a healthy relationship, I think that's wonderful. I'm a combination. I am a little bit Eloise, a little bit Penelope, who becomes a Bridgerton, and a little bit Francesca. I'm just so grateful for the people at Shondaland and Netflix for having made this decision to make this world brighter and more colorful and more diverse and inclusive, because I think that the most important thing about these types of stories is that they do model happiness, and a happy ending is something that is worth striving for and fighting for. I think everybody deserves a happy ending, and I think everybody deserves to see themselves in the story, and I love that they're making it this way. I think I'm going to go with Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore, which is a historical romance, but it's set a little bit later than the Bridgertons. It's in kind of the mid to late Victorian period. I really loved it because it really delved into the early days of the feminist movement or the suffragette movement in Britain when women were fighting for the vote. And that was something I didn't know very much about. And so it was kind of fun to see where my characters would be a couple generations later. So that was a good slap. Oh, well, so on the airplane over here, I finally saw Bridesmaids, which I had never seen, and I laughed so hard I hurt. So I will take that as my movie slap. Well, I wouldn't say lately, but The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I love everything about that show so much, and I would tell anybody, watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Yeah.